In the market we're in, it's lead generation's difficult. It's still difficult, but it's coming back. It's still a great market. I think it's always going to be, there's a lot of doomsday predictors out there, but I think the U.S. is always going to be a good market to buy and hold. You've obviously got to buy right. Flipping still makes a lot of sense, but you've got to, build those skills. It's like anything. You just don't come out of the womb knowing how to flip, right? You've got to, take your nicks and learn your lessons along the way. But I would say just persistence is huge. Just keep going, build your network. And if you do these tried and true strategies of buying and holding, fixing and flipping the right things, buying bigger assets, going bigger as you grow, you're going to be right where you want to be at some point.
Hey, everyone. It is the Profit First ROI podcast. I'm the host, David Richter, and we have Bill Kenny on today, which we've talked with Bill in the past, but now it's from a different point of view. Bill is actually a client of Simple CFO, but he's also got a lending company that we're going to be talking about as well and what he's doing on that side today. So I'm really excited about this because it's been a while since we've had him on the podcast and things have changed, updated, markets updated, everything's updated. So Bill, thanks for coming back on.
Thanks for having me, David. It's good to see you again.
Yeah. Then it's good to talk and
Yeah.
good to jump into things. Right now, what do you see in the marketplace where you're at? And do you see it being up, down, sideways? Like I hear from every which angle, like Florida's down, but upper New York, upstate New York is up. So how are you seeing the marketplace today?
We're in the I guess you would say the greater Baltimore, DC market. We're in this area where, it's Maryland, it's West Virginia, it's Pennsylvania, it's Virginia. It's kind of all clustered together there. But I would say the outer ring of those, the outer to middle outer ring of Baltimore, DC market. But where we are, and we have had a meetup that you spoke at a long time ago. We've had a meetup that's been running for about 8 years. And we open up that meetup and we talk about the local real estate stats for the previous month. So we kind of follow that pretty heavily, and talking to investors and going to other meetups. And basically what we're seeing in this market is it's still a very good seller's market. It's still, 20 to 30 days on market. Obviously it's not like, 2021, beginning of 2022 when it was 7 days on market, 9 days on market. But that trend of inventory starting to come back in most places. I think what you see is in these bigger markets, like the Dallas, the Phoenix, the Chicago, New York places, the big markets like that. That's where the change happens first. And you can kind of see that ripple effect come through. But for us, it's still really good. The trend is slowly trending back to a buyer's market, but still a solid seller's market here.
Awesome. Well, then I like asking that just because getting the different viewpoints from all over the country and where people might be. Because, in Florida, it's definitely more of a buyer's market. We're seeing that turn pretty quickly here, right in the middle, in the Orlando area. But, okay, let's talk about some of the other things you're going through and what you're on in that journey. So what was the journey that took you to Simple CFO and even considering, because we had been friends for a long time and talked for years. And then what made you pull that trigger?
Yeah, we started out like everybody, we read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and wanted to buy a bunch of rentals. And then it evolved into, flipping and wholesaling and doing creative deals and having a meetup. And I'm an agent. And it was very transactional. And I would say almost 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, we decided that, actually there was an event we went to, a commercial storage event. And we saw how those investors were a lot different from the other, single family flipper type investors, and how once they had built their portfolios, things had changed in the way that we wanted to see our lives. So we decided at that point, through a lot of other conversations and talking to different people, that we wanted to go in a little bit different direction. And at that point, we said, all right, we'd raised a lot of private money because we were flipping, we were wholesaling, we were doing the BRRRRs and holding multifamily. We said, let's take that private money and let's use that in a different capacity in our private money, hard money lending company that we created about 2.5, 3 years ago. And the other thing is let's stop let's stop marketing for single families, small multifamilies. Let's start marketing for storage. And we ended up buying like 5 different operations over that period of time. We still hold 3, but we're actively looking for another one. So we took a major course correction from all that transactional stuff, building a small to large rental portfolio, flipping, wholesaling, and we moved more to commercial, holding commercial assets and building this hard money lending company.
Okay. So that journey, I mean, you've been in real estate for a long time and been able to see in different markets, things like that. And that's what I feel like a lot of people want to get into is the commercial and like that side. So what was that final straw that broke the camel's back where you're like, well, let's just get into this and let's shut everything out, like get into that.
Kind of the final straw for me was that in 2021, I think I did 52 sides as a realtor, and we probably did like 40 deals as an investor. So I was just working nonstop, and it's one of those things where, make hay when the sun shines. I knew when I was in it that this was it, like this is the time to double down, double down. But, I that's not how I wanted to live the rest of my life, doing, hundreds and hundreds of transactional deals every year. So that was kind of the point where I said, maybe there's a better way.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then you've gone into that side, and then now you've got Jump Capital, which is the hard money lending company, correct? That you started. That was the 2.5 years ago that you started that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
then let me ask about that. What got you into the hard money lending side? Like you've been in real estate and now you're doing commercial. Like why the jump into the lending space?
Yeah. That's a good question. It's basically, kind of moving up the totem pole, so to speak.
Oh, okay, sure.
It's you have this we have the skill set of rehabbing. We have the skill set of the market. We know how to evaluate properties. We know, how to manage contractors. We know all that stuff. Let's just, instead of being the person that's, in the deal, let's be the person that's, funding the deal. Take a
Yeah.
kind of step upwards. And so we just took all those skill sets and kind of wrapped it into that. It still requires lead generation. It still requires networking. It still requires working with people. But it's a little more passive than the actual flipping or wholesaling. There's still work to be done. It's it's in some cases a lot more passive.
So when you say leads, are you looking for people to lend to, or like are you trying to build your lending pool? And like more lenders coming in the door? Is it a mixture of both? Like what are you looking
Yeah.
for on a constant basis?
We've gotten to the point where, when you do this for 10 years, your network grows. Finding the money is no longer an issue. It's not an issue.
Awesome.
It's very easy to find the money. In a market where, or in an environment, a real estate environment where inventory is tight, finding that deal is difficult. Now, as inventory comes back on the market and opens back up, there may be more opportunities to make that easier. But I think, and this, that finding the deal is always going to be the hardest thing.
Yeah. So then you're looking for the people that actually have the deals and you're looking to lend, and that's the biggest lead flow channel. So then do you work in specific areas? Is this nationwide? Like what
Yeah.
are you looking for as far as criteria?
So when we started off, we said, all right, in order to protect our capital, our investor capital, let's stay in the areas that we know well.
Okay.
Something goes wrong, we can get our hands on it and fix it. So it makes it real easy. It really mitigates a lot of risk. But we found that, that's a limiting pool to fish in. So we've actually expanded out beyond that. So I would say that we're generally mid-Atlantic, but we've done several deals outside of the Mid-Atlantic. So we're open to opportunity. Definitely open to
So
opportunity. We had an opportunity in Missouri. We did 2 actually in Florida. So yeah, we're open to opportunities outside of the Mid-Atlantic. But the Mid-Atlantic is what we really know well.
okay. What about the actual deal? You're looking for single family? Does it matter? Is it commercial or is it like, is there certain criteria on what someone could bring you?
Yeah. I've had some stuff pitched to me, like businesses or, gap funding.
Mm,
We haven't done any of that. We're kind of sticking to what we know very well: fix and flips, the burr strategy, buy and hold. We've done some mixed use commercial. We've done some creative land deals. So, things that make a lot of sense on paper that we understand. That's the kind of deals that we're doing. Kind of like the bread
okay.
and butter stuff.
That makes sense. Is there any secret sauce, not that you have to tell the secret sauce, but like that makes your company as a lender stand out, or like that you're like, hey, we close quick, or I don't know, what's the thing that makes you
Yeah.
stand out from the
Yeah.
most of the lending crowd?
Exactly. That's true. Like, what's the value proposition? There's so many lenders out there. For us, is that we've been in the trenches for 10 years, and we know, we've had to find deals, we've had to manage contractors, we've had to evaluate deals. Sometimes there's uh, situations that come up where they need additional funds, or they need some kind of other resources that we can provide. So it's really, the way we look at it is more like a partnership. Our job is to make sure they're successful. And we work with a lot of people that, have, done their first 5 deals or so. So it's very rewarding to watch them grow and create wealth. And being a partner to do that, being responsive. All of the borrowers that we have my cell phone. So they can
Okay,
text me.
that's big.
Yeah. They can get in touch with me immediately. Like, if they need an emergency draw or they need it by tomorrow, that's the kind of stuff that we're doing. It's a true partnership.
Yeah.
It's not a faceless company. It's not, uh, get stuck on the 800 number. It's not nothing like that. It's
That's what you see in a lot of those big companies for sure. So it sounds like yours is more customer focused, customer driven, and I like what you said, partnership driven,
Mhm.
where you're actually helping them. So if someone brings you a deal that's not a deal, like are you helping them say this is not a deal and this is why, and like this is what we're doing? Or if it is a deal, it's like here, like
Yeah.
it sounds like you're taking them on that.
Yeah. So what I do is I ask them to submit a lot of information to me. Send your scope of work, send your comps, send your exit strategy, send me your experience, send me all the stuff I need to look at. And then I'll look at that and I may say, well, these comps, you may be pulling comps off Zillow for the neighborhood, and these just don't match up very well. Or,
Yeah.
consider this. When we were buying, and we live in an area where there's a ton of septics, so we always require our borrower to get a septic inspection, because that could be a $20,000 to $60,000 repair. That's not
Yeah.
not in your scope of work. You've basically destroyed your profit right there. So, it's looking at it, and I may say, based on this neighborhood, I would say this is probably the ARV for whatever reason, or, you're right on. This sounds good. This is kind of what we can do. But yeah, it's a second set of eyes from an experienced investor to look over your deal, and see if it makes sense. See if you're going to make
Yeah.
profit on it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Where, like you said, if it's a bigger company, it might just be a frontline person who's never been in the real estate trenches and really understands real estate. They're just saying, "Do you fit my box or not?"
Yeah,
And like, if not, then see like I've got enough applications, and we're just moving on. Where it sounds like you're actually taking them and saying, "Okay, here's the points. Here's what I'm seeing from your experience being in this
yeah,
space for so long." So I think that's a huge value
yeah.
proposition
That's why.
on the lending side.
Yeah, that's why. Staying in the areas that we know, we can actually add a lot more value. But the nice thing about having, a big network, is that we know investors in a lot of the states, the big cities,
Yeah.
so we can reach out to them and they can put us in touch with the right people to help those other investors out, which we've done
That's
multiple
great.
times.
Okay.
Mhm.
So then what kind of goals do you have? Like, are you trying to get a certain amount each month? Like, do you cap it at a certain amount, or like
Yeah.
what are you looking to do?
So we've doubled that business every year,
Wow.
into our third year. And, it's like, at some point you can't double that business anymore.
Right.
It becomes a major challenge. So we're in a struggle now to hit our goal, but, our goal is to, write 9 million in hard money loans this year.
Wow.
And I would say we have about 4 to 5 million out. And we've written about, Yeah, we've written about 4. Some loans, our typical loan is written for 12 months. Some guys are out in, 4 or 5 months. Some guys are out in 7 to 8 months. Some take all 12 months. So, it's that part of it is managing the capital, when it's coming back, what you have going out. Do you need to raise some more? Um, that's kind of like the daily struggle of it. This deal makes sense. We have this deal kind of coming back at this time. When do you want to close this? So just managing your capital investors, your borrowers, and the outflows and inflows of all that capital.
Okay, so I love the way that you do that then, and that you have Jump Capital set up and that you will have these aggressive goals, but then you're also making it very much a customer client driven partnership to be able to talk with them. And so I really like what you have. So before we move on to the next thing that we're going to talk about, how can people get a hold of you if they're looking, like if they want a loan or if they want to talk to you, or if they want to get a hold of Jump Capital?
Yeah. Yeah, our website is jumpcapital.loans, so they can find us on our website. There's plenty of links in there to get a hold of us. Our phone number's on there. You can find me on social media, Bill Kenny REI for Instagram. Bill Kenny for Facebook, BILLKENNY. So you can reach out through those channels.
Awesome. So jumpcapital.loan. So very, very apropos there to be able to go there. So, and it's .loans, correct? On S.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
So Jump Cap, we'll make sure we put that in the show notes as well, so you could just click on that if you're looking to get a loan. I obviously cannot endorse them any more than I can, because you know why too? We can see their books and their numbers.
Yeah.
Like we're able to get into the back end and know that these guys are the real deal. So like anyone I have on the podcast, especially if we're working with them, like we can endorse them from a whole different level, because of what we can see behind the scenes. Where that like these people cannot BS us.
Yeah.
This is where Bill and Mike and Jump Capital, like this is someone we endorse, will take you by the hand and will really help you. And they understand, and like they understand the business side of it as well. So talk about that if you don't mind, like working with Simple CFO, having a CFO on the team, like what's that done for the businesses that you run?
Yeah, we've struggled with bookkeeping, and I ran profit first in my realtor business, but our investor business just had so much more going on. We had rentals, we had owner finance, seller finance deals, we had wholesale income coming in, we had flips happening, we had all this stuff happening. So it was very complicated. The realtor side was very easy, right? You have a closing, you divvy it out. The next closing, you divvy it out. So that was very simple for us. So we loved profit first, and we tried to implement it. We had different accounts, but we didn't fully implement it, and
Yep.
we were very weak in our bookkeeping. We had struck out with our I think it was our first 2 bookkeepers. Our most recent one was a total disaster. The problem is that we weren't capable of knowing that it was wrong. We knew that our reports didn't look the way we wanted them to look. And so we finally, through a mastermind and through some coaching, they said, guys, you just need a CFO or a fractional CFO. And so the minute they said that, we knew exactly who to call. And working with Simple CFO has really been huge. Having that partner in there that's, so we fired our bookkeeper, implemented a new person that was already kind of growing inside of our business, getting our budget figured out, getting our projections, our income projections, our revenue projections, and then actually getting the books right. So, it's like, here's a game plan to do this. So they had messed up I think they had put some of our loans in as like principal and interest on our interest only loans. Like they had really destroyed us. And so we had started to go back over the last several months and fix those with the help of our CFO. And it's really making things a lot clearer, because as you already know, without the numbers to tell the story, you don't know, where to go in the future, So that's what we really want to get to. And we're getting there because of your company.
No, and I appreciate you saying that, because it's that clarity, like you said, it's and knowing you're on the right path. Because a lot of people just don't have that help.
Yeah.
Getting to where they want to go. And I appreciate you taking that jump no pun intended,
Yeah.
jump
Right.
with us, but back to Jump Capital.
Yeah.
But this is where we want to make sure that people like you that are out there in the marketplace doing a good work and wanting to help other people, and like you want to build your company and produce more loans and like that thing. And on the commercial side too, you just need the clarity to make sure you can make the right decisions. And that's what we want to help with. So now this has been awesome. And I want to just ask too, do you have any advice for the investors out there currently in this marketplace where we are, whether it's seller's market, buyer's market, whatever it might be, like what advice do you have for the real estate investing community?
I would say, things are, it depends on what market you're in, obviously. You gotta match your strategies to the market you're in. And you kind of want to be one step ahead of the market, based on your history and your past. But, in the market we're in, it's lead generation's difficult, it's still difficult, but it's coming back. It's still a great market. I think it's always going to be, there's a lot of doomsday predictors out there, but I think the U.S. is always going to be a good market to buy and hold. You've obviously got to buy right. Flipping still makes a lot of sense, but you've got to, build those skills. It's like anything. You just don't come out of the womb knowing how to flip, right? You've got to, take your nicks and learn your lessons along the way. But I would say just persistence is huge. Just keep going, build your network, and if you do these tried and true strategies of buying and holding, fixing and flipping the right things, buying bigger assets, going bigger as you grow, you're going to be right where you want to be at some point.
So if they take that advice and they do start to grow, at what point should they consider, like you did, going to commercial or potentially lending, that
Yeah.
seed as well too? Like, is there a certain time or is there a certain thing or like, what would you say
Yeah, I think it.
to
I
them?
think that's an individual decision. Um, I know there are people that jumped into it right away,
Yeah.
and that's good. I mean, if you have the right network and maybe you have the right coach or something, you can do that. For us, we weren't ready for that. Like we were green as you could be, so we kind of progressed up the scale. You know, single families to multifamilies to creative stuff, and then more advanced things like being the lender and commercial larger commercial assets. So we did the progression as we felt our skill set grow. But I would say it's based on you. In general, it's always better to go bigger sooner.
Yeah.
But some people may not be ready for that right out of the get go. But you've got to have the right network and maybe a coach to help you with a lot of that.
So then you've been a part of masterminds and coaching groups and like things over the years, and you're definitely not green anymore. So you definitely got that instilled in you. I want to ask this from a little different aspect too. Would you say that if they have more money than time, it's might be time for them to go to the commercial or to the lending space, but if they have more time than money, it's like more the active and maybe like just trying to get the ATM machine up and running? Would
Yeah,
that be
yeah. I
a
mean,
fair assessment?
you've got to build some kind of cash flow or something that you're actively doing to be able to invest that money. But yeah, if you have more money, yeah, you could probably buy a bigger asset a lot sooner. Um,
Or go to someone like Bill and Mike and
yeah.
be like, "Hey, where can I put my money?"
And
And like
that's super passive. That's very passive. But yes, as you know, investors like us that have businesses like we do take capital from people and we put that in play and we make them a very good return. And there's tons, and you probably interviewed tons of people that are good stewards of capital that
mm,
have IRA money, have wealthy individuals that back them. So yes, that's very easy. You're not really going to learn the business at all. You're going to get a nice paycheck. The other side of that is if you act, if you have time and you don't have the funds and you want to build this business, then being active and learning skills and doing things is the way to go.
awesome.
Yeah.
So if you want to reach out to Bill either way, like if you're looking to put money on the street, or if you're like, hey, I need the money in order to take down these deals and to be able to get it, and you want someone that's going to be more of a partner with you than just like you're just another number, to them, you're just another application coming in the door, then reach out to them, jumpcapital.loans. I love that URL. Very simple. And then Bill Kenny, REI, if you're wanting to connect with him on Instagram or like, anything out there in the social world. So Bill, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your experience with us, and then with just your experience in the marketplace and how you've progressed too, and giving some good advice there at the end. And then if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea where I am money-wise, like, like what Bill was saying, and I don't have the clarity, and I've had bookkeepers screw things up and don't know where to go, just reach out, simplecfo.com. You can book a call right there. You'll probably be talking to one of our team members here, or even myself, and we just want to see where you are and if it's the right step, or if we could point you in the right direction. But also, if you're reaching out and you need that money, we have people like Bill that we trust that will actually take you under their wing and be like, here's the money and here's what's, if it is a deal or not, and making sure that they help you on that journey. So that's jumpcapital.loans. Thank you so much for listening. And Bill, thanks for being a great guest.
This episode of the Profit First for REI podcast is over, but there are plenty more where that came from. Are you ready to learn how David and his team can help implement the Profit First system in your business? Schedule a discovery call at simplecfo.com right now. We'll see you next time on the Profit First for REI podcast with David Richter.